Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys in Canada, you know we love you in Canada. But I got to go back across the Atlantic Ocean and say hello to the Big C tribe. I think sometimes they get an attitude when I don't thank them, Big C. We do want to thank you, Big C, out in Africa, following Big C Sports from the motherland. But Big C, there's still no one we love more than you good old boys down south, in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, it's been a beautiful day, and I wondered why all these animals with the dark pelts tried to hide, and it's snowing.
Yeah.
They stick out like a sore thumb. We're going to have a great barbecue this weekend.
And the good thing about animals that get trapped in the snow, you don't have to put them on ice, Big C. Is that what you're saying?
They couldn't hide. I think they thought if they stayed still, nobody could see them, but those black and brown kids still out, it made it real easily target practice.
That is so funny. There's a lot of good things happening in the land of the free and the home of the brave. Today is a beautiful December the 8th, 2017, land of the free and the home of the brave. And I know there's so much in the world of politics and sports that we talk about. But just thinking about some of the great Hollywood movies that are coming up, we have The Avengers, we have a lot of good movies. I did not catch the name of the movie, but Morgan Freeman was trying to hide out. They said it was Morgan Freeman and some other good old boys in this movie that's coming up, and they actually blew up a golf course, Big C. I think it was down at Mar-a-Lago that they blew up the golf course. But I think Morgan Freeman, when I think about his work, overall, it's just one of the greatest, most iconic actors in the history of the universe, Big C. I think back to Shawshank Redemption, and I think that movie had a lot of realism to it, and not only was he in that, but he made a lot of acclaim for, driving Miss Daisy, which I always thought that was kind of an oxymoron, that he's the more famous person, but why was he driving Miss Daisy around, Big C? Your thoughts?
But Charlton, he was shunned in Shawshank Redemption along with Tim Robbins.
Yep.
It was the best picture of the year. It's one of the best pictures ever made, Charlton.
Yeah.
Not only did he co-starred in the movie, but he narrated the movie, Charlton, all the way through. The movie that you saw coming out was Bucket List 2, him and a bunch of old...
Oh, yeah.
And he had been with before.
I want to see that.
In the movie, so, this time they survived Bucket List 1, now they have to make Bucket List 2 to live longer than what they expected.
Yeah.
But, when you think about him, he's best known in his movie roles as God, Charlton.
Oh, yeah.
Think about how many times that Morgan Freeman has, played God in movie roles.
Yeah.
He did it a lot with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But, just the iconicness of his voice, and, he has this series on the Discovery Channel, talking about religion.
Yeah.
Where he's going around the world looking at various religions around the world, and very insightful.
Yeah.
Eye-opening experience for a lot of people who have different perspectives and views on religion and life.
Yep.
To sit down and watch this, to see other perspectives from around the world and why people believe and how they believe.
Yeah.
And have Morgan Freeman deliver that, because he's played the role of God so much.
Yeah.
Was just, the perfect fit.
Well, speaking of God, he actually looks like God according to the Bible. Skin the color of brass and hair like lamb's wool. I think he might be God just coming down to hang out and make some movies. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Morgan has made a believer out of a lot of people
Yeah.
in all the various roles that he has played, Charlton.
Yeah.
Whether, it's been comedic, whether it's been adventure, whether it's been, action.
Yep.
He's done all this drama. The broadness of his spectrum, far as his entertainment, is unparalleled with anybody else out there, Charlton. And to be a man of ethnicity, and to be able to command the respect and the gratitude of Hollywood that he has captured over his lifetime, Charlton, is second to none.
Yeah, I think he's an amazing character, and just thinking about all of the people that want to get into the world of Hollywood and the world of business. And you look at Morgan Freeman, he's had more opportunities, over 50 than he had under 50. But it's a great testament to perseverance and how you get your foot in the door. And then once you get in that door, you just got to keep running with it. And he's definitely done that. Speaking of getting your foot in the door, this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers. home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Big C sent you. And Big C, I just want to get your thoughts with the Escalade. How does it run around in the snow? You good old boys get the snow down in those southern states, and it's burning up like wildfires here in Southern California. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston is as smooth as silk, and those animals that are laying in the back that have the chill factor on them, you don't have to turn on the heater to warm them up, Charleston. You know, they're laying in the back till we get to the house and everything. They fulfill their role at that point.
Yeah.
But, you know, it does not mind the snow, Charleston. The all-wheel drive makes it easy to navigate. You know, the steering is pristine.
Yeah.
You know, the traction is solid. And that ride, you know, it never gets better than those heated seats in the wintertime.
Oh, now you bragging, Big C. Now you bragging. I want to speak about bragging as we look at the NBA. And we'll touch on some NFL football as we normally do on a beautiful Friday. The NBA right now, because football is in the heat of the battle, who's going to get in position for the playoffs, who's going to win the division, who's going to be a wild card team. I do want to jump across to the NBA because there's great basketball happening right now, and there's a lot of upsets. I think the Lakers upset Philadelphia last night, and that was a game that went down to the wire. And that it's just a lot of hope coming for the Lakers. Might be a year away from that, but I want to start in the Eastern Conference. We have the Boston Celtics, Big C. They're 22-4, and you look at Toronto. They're behind them, but they're behind them by 7 games. They're 15-7. They're 5 games back actually. Just give me your thought on Boston. I know they're out to a hot streak for a while. They kind of cooled off a little bit, but your thoughts on Boston going into the Christmas break? Your thoughts, Big C.
Well, Charleston, you think the revitalization of the Celtics after winning the Eastern Division last year, and being able to pick up that tempo again this year and stay on pace, even with the roster changes that they made at point guard. You know, they've done an admirable job. Danny Ainge has done an admirable job in putting together this roster, Charleston, and a lot of young and up-and-coming players. When you think about it, he's built the team, Charleston, for the next 5 to 7 years to stay in place. If they stay healthy, this team will only get better. I mean, LeBron will always be the king as long as he's on the court. You know, he's been the most dominant player in the NBA since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar to have so many consecutive runs at the playoffs and being in championship series, but also to be a player that other players want to play with. That's something within itself. But when you look at the Celtics and what Kyrie Irving has done in going over to that team, he's personified that he's the best ball handler in basketball, Charleston, because he can break anybody down and get to the 10. And, you know, he's helped Boston to the best record in the East once again. Yeah,
he's definitely phenomenal dribbling the basketball. So in the Eastern Conference Atlantic Division, you have the Celtics. In the Southeast Division, I look at Washington with Wall, they're 13-11. But Miami's 11-13. That's a really poor division for basketball. You think of the great cities they play in. Washington, a great city. Miami's a great city. Orlando's a decent city. Charlotte's a great city. Atlanta's a great city. But the basketball's not being played at the best. Your thoughts on Washington? Last year, they were a force to be reckoned with in the Eastern Conference playoffs. Even at the lead of that division right now, 13-11, they're barely over 500. Big C, your thoughts on what's happening there?
Well, you know, I think the biggest problem with Washington, Charleston, is their name. You know, I didn't know that they had any Wizards in Washington. You know, when they renamed the team, when they originally used to be the Bullets, they should have renamed them the Washington Monuments or something significant with the stature of that city. Not the Wizards. I mean, it's like you're going to a circus or something. And that's what their organization has been for the past couple of decades. They just haven't been stable. They haven't played consistently at the level that you expect for them to do, Charleston. Last year was a breakout season for Wall and a few other players, Charleston. But now they've come back down to earth. You know, you can't always read your press clippings. You got to go out there and put the ball in the cup, you know, on a regular basis. And
the class bell has rung for the beautiful Washington Wizards because at a time when if the rest of your division, no one's over 500, you think about the influence of Pat Riley. You think about how great of talent they've had in Miami over the years. And Atlanta's been a hot team over the years too. And Charlotte's been, you know, in and out of the playoffs, it seems, every other year. Orlando, same thing. But when your second place team is not even over 500, that really gives you a chance to pull away in that division. As we go over to the Central, the Big C division in the Eastern Conference, the Central division, the Cleveland Cavs are 18-7, Big C. Detroit is 14-10, and they're playing the Golden State Warriors right now. Milwaukee's 13-10, with Giannis being the star player in that conference, only second to LeBron James. And then you have Indiana and Chicago. But I get your thoughts on, I know that Cleveland's going to be good. We know they're going to be there at the end. But Detroit built a new arena downtown. They're no longer playing in land. What were they playing? Auburn Hills. Yeah, no more in Auburn Hills, which usually had a lot of sold out crowds and some championship games to come through there. They built this new arena downtown, not far from the football stadium and the baseball stadium. And almost every time I see a game, I say there's only about 70% full, Big C. I don't know if they've really bought the marketing of bringing people downtown for basketball, but their team is not that bad a team, even though they only have 14-10, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, they started off this season really hot, being 14-6, but they've lost their last 4 games.
Yeah.
And they don't have an easy task tonight because they're playing against the Warriors, who, have been on a heater playing in road games.
Yeah.
But, when you think about them making that move back downtown, they were trying to get the inner city back into the arena.
Yep.
But you also got to look at the economics of the inner city when you're doing that. You brought the team from the suburbs where they had been playing, where you have a more affluent and economically non-challenged crowd.
Yeah.
They can attend the game.
Yeah.
So it's a plus-minus when you're looking at those things. Yes, it's good to be back in the sporting area of the city.
Yeah.
But you got to also look at the number of fans who don't want to be in downtown Detroit.
Yeah.
Late at night.
Yeah.
So that hurts the team attendance-wise.
Yeah.
But this is a promising young team. Charlton, like I said, they started out 14-6. They've lost their last 4.
Yeah.
But, they still have that winning record nevertheless. So they're on the right track under Van Gundy in moving forward.
Yeah, they definitely have a great looking arena, Big C. I want to jump to the Western Conference. In the Southwest Division, you have Houston. The Rockets are 18-4. You look at San Antonio right on the heels at 17-8. Kawhi Leonard's coming back into action. New Orleans is 13-12. With Davis and Cousins, you would think they'd be right there at the top of that division. And then you have Memphis at 8-16 and Dallas at 7-18. I know that Houston's probably the team that everyone thinks can run away with it, but you have Coach Pop in San Antonio. I thought New Orleans would play better with Cousins and Davis. You have 2 7-footers, Big C, and for some reason they're only playing just above 500 ball. Do you think they have what it takes in New Orleans to make the jump to at least challenge Houston and San Antonio with Cousins and Davis, hogging up the ball, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, what that combination of 2 big men does, it creates mismatches for both ends of the court.
Yeah.
It creates a defensive mismatch for the opposing team, but it also creates a defensive mismatch for them when they're on defense, because who's going to guard who? You're putting a big man on a forward, who is generally going to be quicker on the outside. So, Charleston, they haven't had a point guard there to take control of that team. That's the problem you have when you have a team with big men. You got to have a solid veteran point guard who can take control and tell guys where to set up on the floor.
Yeah.
You think about the great teams that have had big men and win championships, when Shaq was running the floor. He took control, and he didn't have competition in the middle.
No.
And all the other teams, Detroit, when they had Lambeer, playing in the post.
Yep.
The Lakers with Kareem and the Celtics with the Chiefs. That was the last team with 2 real big men that played well together when you had the Chief and McHale, a 6'11" guy and a 7-footer.
Yeah.
They could run the court together. So, it's not easy to pair big men on the floor. You look at the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yep.
They just traded Jahlil Okafor today because he couldn't get any minutes, on the floor. They drafted 3 big men back-to-back years.
Wow.
And so that really, they never got anything out of Noel, and you look at the big kid out of Kansas who has finally developed him. He can only play every other game.
Yeah.
Embiid.
Yeah.
So, they still are trying to find their identity. Their team is built for 3 to 4 years down the road also if they can keep everybody healthy.
Yeah, and as far as keeping everybody healthy in the Northwest Division, you look at Minnesota at 15-11, and then Portland is 13-11. I really like the play that Portland gives you at times, especially at home in the Motor Center. Denver's 13-11. Utah is 13-12, and you have Oklahoma City, the shock of that division right now, at 11-12, with Westbrook being last year's MVP, Big C. And I know they brought out some good old boys to help him out with George and also Anthony, but the chemistry there is just, something's not right with the chemistry in OKC. But I want to take you back to the top of that division. I know Minnesota's a young team, they're a good team, but at just 15-11, leading the division, it seems to be up to grabs for anybody. Even with OKC being in the last place, they're only 2.5 games out, Big C, of first place. Your thoughts?
Well, you look at Wiggins, Charlton, who is a tremendous young player, and actually he was traded for Kevin Love, who was in Cleveland when he came out of college as the #1 draft pick. Tremendous offensive player, Charlton, but scared to play defense.
Yeah.
You know, he plays that James Harden type of defense.
The Matador defense.
Yeah. I'm going to let you go, and maybe I can get a cherry pick. You know, Karl Anthony Towns is one of the better young big men in the game.
Yeah.
You know, and he's still young. He's just 20 years old, Charlton, and still developing. So this is a team, as we say, you know, you look at what Thibodeau can do as head coach. Head coach of the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
You know, and they brought over Jimmy Butler, who was hoped to stabilize this team, and he has them in first place.
Yeah.
But, you know, this is a team that's going to have to stay healthy because later on in the season, as these young legs get tired, Charlton, they have a tendency to get injured and start missing games. But, you know, Thibodeau is a tremendous coach. You know, he stayed on the winning side when he was coaching the Bulls, and now he's gone to the Timberwolves franchise and have them in first place. So management made a good decision in bringing him in.
Yeah, and also when we look at the divisions and making good decisions, we look at the Pacific Division, the division that's really the division of champions. You look at all of the championships that Golden State has been involved in the last several years, and then the history of the Lakers. We know Phoenix has played in the finals, and then you look at the Clippers and Sacramento not getting there, but always kind of being a threat. I know they're both in rebuilding mode, but I take it Golden State, they're 20-6 on the season. And as we mentioned, they're playing in Detroit right now. The Clippers, they've fallen to 8-15, and I mean they're 10.5 games back. The Lakers are tied with the Clippers. They're both 8-15. The Lakers with a big win last night at Philadelphia with a last-second shot. And then you look at Phoenix, they're 9-17, and Sacramento in the beautiful Golden One Center only 7-17 on the season. They're playing in New Orleans tonight. So I know that Golden State, they need to be pushed, Big C, but they have a 10.5 game lead, and we're not even in Christmas yet, and they're already up 10.5 games. So you can wrap up the Pacific Division again for the Golden State Warriors. But give me your thought on what could be a second team if there could be a playoff push that came out of the Pacific Division. I know a lot of people thought that Magic Johnson was maybe not making the best decisions, but they have him in second place in the Pacific, Big C. That's not bad because we know Golden State is going to win that division. Your thoughts?
Well, you know, the Lakers are a young team, Charlton. They play in spurts. They're not a consistent team. And that's what will get them later on in the season when you have to play competitive games that are meaningful.
Yeah.
You know, the NBA really doesn't start until after Christmas.
After Christmas.
New Year's, Charlton, is when they kick off the season because they're not competing against the NBA.
Yeah.
And so you get a lot of young players. They play well early in the season. You know, you think about it. They're right now halfway through a college season.
Yeah.
When you look at it. But, you know, when you get around game 50 and those young legs are not used to going that long, Charlton, throughout the year, that's when the breakdown of those young teams, and it really will affect the Lakers when you look at the youth movement on that team. They're going to have to build themselves up. But, you know, if there's going to be a team in that division come out, I think it's Portland. Portland has a great base, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have some veteran players that have been there before, so they know the early part of the season it's good to win, but late in the season when you need that push, they've been down that road before, Charlton, so they're not going to panic. They know how to win the big games when it counts.
Yeah, and that's very true. So we all love NBA basketball. I also want to give a shout-out to DJ in the Mix. He's all over the country, blowing up a lot of the major markets with radio, some hip-hop, some jazz, some old-school rap, and we'll be doing some shout-outs from Big C Sports, bringing the sports beat to DJ in the Mix. DJ in the Mix, we got you covered, and we'll be doing that coming up in the new year. Also, Big C, I want to touch on a few things in the world of college football, because we already got the bowl games picked, even though they don't really start until, after Christmas. But they're coming up, and we talked about it just briefly yesterday. On Saturday, we have the Army and Navy game, and Navy's favored by 3. The over-under is 47.5. And I know we talked on, too, about the, what does the Heisman Trophy represent? Does it represent the best player in the country? Does it represent the best role model player in the country? Does it represent the best institution in the country because they groom the athletes to be well-rounded and not just football players or whatever they want to give them an award for? But I thought you made such a salient point yesterday when you talked about Baker Mayfield, and of course he's up for the Heisman Trophy, and they have Baker Mayfield, they have Lamar Jackson, and then out of Louisville, and then Bryce Love, a junior running back out of Stanford. But I just thought when you brought the contrast to what should be given an award, and you brought up the Army-Navy, and I want you to bring up again what you talked about, their representation for the schools and also the country versus Baker Mayfield, who has his own police blogger, and they're going to trot him out as the best they can find in the world of college football. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Army, Navy, Air Force, Charlton, we talk about the integrity of the young women and men of the university athletics in our nation.
Yeah.
You know, they represent all of what's good about intercollegiate athletics, and they're true intercollegiate athletics, Charlton.
Yeah.
These are people who go out and do this undue sacrifice.
Yep.
Not just in the classroom, but on the playing fields. And even when their academic and athletic career is over, Charlton, they continue to give and sacrifice for this country.
Yeah.
Where you don't get that across the slate. You think about the graduation rate from these academies, Charlton. That's something that they boast about.
Yeah.
They're proud of. Their players graduate. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't move on. They don't drop out. They don't transfer.
They're not one and done. Yeah.
And you can't say that about any other institution. And Stanford is probably about the closest you can get on the major college level. But when we think about these fine young women, Charlton, from the academy, you don't see them being pulled over on the side of the road. By police and trying to run from them.
No.
You don't see them going out boasting on the opposing team's, emblem at the middle of the field after a game, Charlton.
Right.
You don't see them grabbing their genitalia and spewing profanities at their opponent, Charlton. These young men operate with the utmost respect for their opponent.
Yeah.
Win, lose, or draw, Charlton, they are first-class citizens and first-class athletes.
Yeah, and so I thought that was a great point you made yesterday, because when we talk about how do we set examples for people, whether you're a radio program or whether you're a TV program or a school or any type of board that's going to put someone up as a paragon of virtue, and you have these great military institutions that do things right, but I'm sure they even look at someone like Mayfield and they ask themselves, what kind of code of conduct would he have? Would he even be allowed to participate if he went to one of the military institutions? Would they put him out as the very best that they can find as a school as Oklahoma does? And then for the NCAA to act like none of that stuff exists, and they're going to hold them up and say, this is the best we have, the best representation of what a college football should play, a player should be, which is a student athlete. I just think that was a great point you brought up yesterday. I do want to,
do this comparison with, think about the University of Miami back in the 90s.
Yep.
When the NCAA wrote a rule book on actions about what would be penalized and players being disciplined over.
Yep.
And they wrote this book based on the University of Miami because they were minority athletes on the team, Charlton, that dominated the landscape.
Yeah.
And you think about it, Baker Mayfield has that same type of action and mentality that the NCAA wrote a book about.
Yeah.
Did they sanction Baker Mayfield? No. With all of his antics and what he did, his character flaws that he has as a player and a person, Charlton, the NCAA said nothing about it. They embraced it.
Yeah, they embraced it.
You think about they suspended Bosworth for the things that he did at the University of Oklahoma. And people say, well, it's a different culture now. It's still athletics, still football.
Yeah.
But no one talks about the negativity. This was a kid who was kicked out of Texas Tech, Charlton, okay?
Yeah.
And so it wasn't his first rodeo of getting in trouble.
No.
So he goes across the state line and goes up to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Where they bring him in and embrace all of his bad character. We saw what they did, the media, in roasting Joe Mixon, a running back in Oklahoma. They rode this young man for 3 years, Charlton.
Yeah.
And he did the time. He apologized. He was suspended by the university for what he did. Was Baker Mayfield suspended? Baker Mayfield's actions with the police were just as bad, if not worse, than what Joe Mixon did.
I agree.
He had no sanctions from the university. He was not suspended. He didn't have to sit at any point. The only time he sat, Charlton, was when he was on national television using profanities and grabbing his crotch.
Yeah.
Okay? That was it.
Yeah.
And they said, well, we'll sit him down for 2 plays. He sit for 2 plays, Charlton.
Yeah.
That's a hell of an act by the university and the coaching staff.
Yeah.
I know that Lincoln Riley's a first-year coach.
Yeah.
But to sit a guy to go to that height for 2 plays and say, well, that's what he deserves, sitting down for 2 plays.
Yeah.
That's like the Giants pitching Eli Manning and then bringing him back as a starter the next week.
Yeah, some things don't make sense. So I do want to pay a lot of attention to players that won't get talked about in national media that have not been in trouble. And the Heisman Trophy will be awarded Saturday in New York at 8 o'clock p.m. on ESPN. I look at Lamar Jackson, and he's out of Pompano Beach, Florida. The guy's a great player, great athlete, great character, hasn't been in trouble, hasn't caused any embarrassment to the University of Louisville, passed for 3,489 yards and 25 touchdowns, and rushed for 1,443 yards plus 17 touchdowns. and he leads the FBS in total offense per game with 411 per game, and that's not enough, as some of the pundits say, to win, the Heisman Trophy, because character also matters, okay? I love what he's done as a young man and representing his school. Also, Bryce Love, who's only a junior, as well as Lamar Jackson, the junior. Baker Mayfield's a senior. I look at, Love's a native out of Wake Forest, North Carolina. He has a 2015 replacement. He had to replace Christian McCaffrey, okay? That's how good Stanford has recruited when a guy who's up for the Heisman this year couldn't even start last year. I also look at what Love has done with a bum leg, Big C. He has a hitch in his giddy up. He's averaging 164 yards a game, 8.3 yards per carry, and 17 touchdowns, set the FBS record with 12 runs of at least 50 yards, and did not end up on any police blogger, okay? So he's not been an embarrassment to the University of Stanford. He has been nothing but what they call a student athlete, someone you could really feel proud about if you're the University of Stanford or Stanford University or the NCAA saying, this is what we want our young men to be. So they may not win it, but I do want to pay them special homage for having some of the best character in the universe. Big C, as we close out that thought, I just want to get your thought on Love and also Jackson. Even though they have great numbers and great character, they're not considered the front runner. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, is either one of these players that had the background of shadiness that,
Mayfield had, yeah.
They would not even have been invited to New York.
No.
You think about what Jackson has done. You talked about his overall stats in leading college football in total offense.
Yeah.
Charlton, not only did he pass for 3,400 yards and rush for 1,400, he's the only player to do that in back-to-back
seasons, yep. Back-to-back seasons.
He's a Heisman candidate. I take that back. He's not the only one. The last one to do it was Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick did it first. And we know he can't get a job.
Win the Heisman and do that.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
He's the first one to win the Heisman and do that. And then when you think about Love's season, Charlton,
yeah.
These men have worked through all the adversities that you can, and both of them have improved tremendously from what they had done last year.
Yeah.
Statistically, they're much greater than what they were last year. You think about Jackson winning the Heisman, and the statistics this year are off the chart compared to what he had last year.
Yeah, and Big C.
You think about Love not coming out of nowhere, but replacing the runner-up to the Heisman Trophy last year, Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And excelling past what McCaffrey did statistically.
Yeah.
But neither one of these men will win the Heisman because it's a foregone conclusion that Baker Mayfield was going to get this Heisman Trophy, Charlton, because they had to find some way to break the stream of consecutive minorities winning the Heisman Trophy, Charlton.
Well, I got to bring something up that's kind of painful to bring up because, we've been dealing with this for about 50 years now, and it's about the integration of the college football game and also the integration of the NFL at the quarterback position. Because I heard two pundits on ESPN, I think Kiper and McShay or something of that nature, and they were asking them good old boys, what do they think of the Heisman Trophy runners and also the quarterbacks that can have the most success at the NFL level. And they brought up that kid out of Wyoming that hasn't won much of anything. And then they actually brought up, but they brought up Lamar Jackson. And I want people to think about this. This goes back to the days of Doug Williams. And also, Eddie Robinson had as many players drafted into the NFL out of Grambling as any school in the history of college football. I think about guys like Warren Moon that had to go up to Canada because they wouldn't give him a chance in the NFL. I even think about Deshaun Watson and how he got skipped over for being in the national championship game 2 years in a row. And now I bring up Lamar Jackson. Here's a guy that led all of college football in total yardage per game. But they asked these good old boys, Mache and that other dude that you like, I forgot the names, Kiper and Mache, and they said, what do you think about him being a pro football player, a quarterback at the NFL level? They said, well, he's a great athlete. I don't think he'd be a good quarterback, but I think he'd be a good receiver. When the hell does he play receiver in college football, Big C? Here's a guy that's dominated every single person, every single quarterback in college football yards-wise, and you already have people trying to put him into that good old boy system of saying black guys can't play, and that's a shame, and I don't want it to happen. So anyone that wants to do it, just please Google their numbers, no matter who some network hires to put on TV. Sometimes just the facts have to matter, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, sometimes I wonder if all these proponents and so-called expert analysts ever look and see how many white quarterbacks in the NFL have losing records.
Yeah, a lot of them.
I actually wonder that.
Yeah.
So when they sit down and look, and look at the comparison, the number of African-American quarterbacks who have winning records versus the number of white quarterbacks who have losing records.
Yeah.
And they said, well, it's more white quarterbacks. That's the reason why you keep giving them the job. What happened to the kid in Buffalo a couple weeks ago when they put him in the lineup? This is
5 interceptions.
On the NFL roster, getting an NFL paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Peterman. He's getting an NFL paycheck. They put him in. He throws 5 interceptions in 5 minutes, Charles.
Yeah.
And they said this is an NFL quarterback. Your buddy Brock Osweiler, what has he done since he's been in the NFL?
Not much.
He's been with 3 teams in 3 years. You know, everybody talked about Willie Taggart leaving Oregon and being the head coach.
Yeah.
3 college teams in 1 fiscal year.
Yeah.
How many teams was Brock Osweiler on in 1 year? Think about that.
That's true.
He was on 3 teams in 6 months.
Yeah.
1 year in 6 months.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's how promising he is as a quarterback, and can't start with either one of them.
Yeah.
So when you look around, Charlton, and people start, rating these African American quarterbacks in college who don't do anything but win, and saying, well, we don't think he'll make a good pro. Well, we should give him a chance. Yeah. Okay?
Yep.
We should give him a chance. All we just don't think, we should give him a chance.
Yeah.
And put him up there against the guys he beat the brakes off of in college.
Yeah.
And see if he'll beat the brakes off of them in the pros also, Charles.
That's a great point. So, again, I don't want that to happen. And I know there was a lot of time when black men were shaking in their boots, and you even have a lot of guys on TV and radio. They don't even challenge these guys who's given the job to just be inaccurate. Just Google what they say. They said that same garbage about Warren Moon, who happened to be a Hall of Famer by the last time I checked, and last time I Googled that, Warren Moon's a Hall of Famer. I just hate to see so many of this same garbage happening again. You have the best stats of anyone in the universe, and they're saying, well, he won't be good at the next level because he's going to play against the same guys that he's dominating now. It doesn't make any sense. Big C, in the world of the NFL, Week 14 is among us. And talk about a game we had last night with Atlanta and also them good old boys from New Orleans coming in there. I hear they're still cleaning up those beads down in the Georgia Big C. A lot of them good old boys are trying to put beads on top of that bird outside of the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Is that bird okay, Big C, or did they choke on some beads down south, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Tom, he might have lost a feather too off of his wings. Another one of those Thursday night games. I mean, this was a game that had all the fanfare about it, Charlton.
Yeah.
But once again, this is a game that both teams came out of this game limping.
Yep.
The Falcons came away with a hard-fought victory.
Yeah.
Sean Payton didn't make the best coaching decisions last night.
Yeah, he lost his mind.
Team down the stretch.
Yeah.
And he'll most likely be fined by the league's office.
Yeah.
But, this is one of those games where we see the injuries week in and week out, Charlton, especially late in the season when players are tired. You're 12 weeks into the season, and you're having to play on 4 days, after your last game.
Yeah.
And last night, the Saints lost 6 players, Charlton, in this game due to injury. Not only did they lost the game, but they lost 6 players.
Wow.
And at some point, the players and even the league, I know they keep talking about, well, if we take away this Thursday night game, there's going to be less revenue for the league.
Yeah.
Well, I would rather live longer than worry about the revenue.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to talk about CTEs, concussions, and all these injuries. I know Kamara, he suffered a concussion last night, the tremendous young running back of the Saints.
Yeah.
But, everybody keeps talking about player safety. I'm hearing this all the time. Player safety, you don't want to target a player. You don't want to hit. I mean, hell, Kamara was targeted by a linebacker last night, okay?
Yeah.
As a running back, he was targeted by a linebacker. But there won't be any penalty on that play. There won't be any fine on that play.
Yeah.
He didn't see the linebacker coming. He drilled him in the air hole, gave him a concussion.
Yeah.
So the double standard, and you and I talked about it last night's show, Charlton, about when a tight end comes down and drills a defensive end or a defensive tackle in the ear hole, he can get concussed. We see that with a guard or a tackle on a trap play also.
Yeah.
So, and that's the same thing that happened with Kamara. He was stumbling. The linebacker had a clean drill on him, put the helmet in his ear hole, Charlton. He goes down with a concussion.
Yeah.
So when you talk about protecting players, you cannot protect professional football players. You can't protect college players. You cannot protect a football player. It is a violent game, but it's built on violence.
Yeah.
It's predicated on violence. It is watched because it's violent, Charlton.
Yeah.
People do not, I mean, they've had this powder puff football. I think you used to be an official in.
Yeah.
So it was a violent game.
Hey, no, don't tell nobody. That was my side gig.
It was a lingerie league. That's all it was. You wanted to see women run around their skippies.
Yep.
But it was not a violent game.
Yeah.
You think about even arena football, Charlton. it's a violent game, but not violent enough because you don't get a chance to run that much.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
You don't have those angles that you can get on players.
Yeah, that's true.
Stop thinking that you're going to make football safe. You're not going to make it. There's no way because you have to take the contact out of the game to make it safe. Think about how many players in the NBA often get hurt throughout the season.
Yeah.
They don't have pads on, okay?
Yeah.
There's NBA players that get concussions.
Yeah.
They don't have pads on.
Yep.
But to keep thinking that you can tell defensive players, and I kind of remember what it was to be a defensive player, Charles.
You kind of remember.
Let me give you the crux of being a defensive player, okay, Charles?
Yeah.
Especially on the professional level.
Yeah.
You're paid to inflict as much pain and punishment as you can on your opponent. I don't care what people say about the game and all these modern analysts.
Yeah.
Go back and ask anybody who played the game 20, 30, 40 years ago and ask them, what was their mind process when they walked onto the field?
Yeah.
Is that somebody's going to have a bad day?
Yeah.
I mean, period. Somebody on the other team's going to have a bad day. And if it's two of them, even better.
Somebody, that's true. You got to.
We had this thing that we used to, praise us. That we hit a guy, we just stand him up, and everybody else would come in and drill him, and we walk in. That boy got helmet wounds all over his body.
I remember that. That's how they played the game back in the day, Big C. And we know that.
You can't. It's like saying you can't wear cleats anymore on grass. You can't.
Yeah.
The game is what the game is. Yes, there's a lot of players who are suffering physically.
Yeah.
I is one of them, Charlton. And mentally also.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is the game is what it is. It's like Herm Edwards, who just became the coach of Arizona State.
Yeah.
He said you play to win the game.
Yeah.
Nothing else.
Yeah.
You play to win the game. And to play to win the game, you got to play violently.
Yeah.
Offensively and defensively.
Yeah, because you don't want to get hurt. You get hurt when you're not playing as hard as you can. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. For every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They've been around half a century, and they work with Big C Sports. Whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues team, reach out to them and let them know that Big C sent you. If you're looking for insurance, call 800-772-8624. That's 800-772-8624. Also, Big C in the NFL will run down quickly in the second half. We have the Colts at 3-9 at the Bills 6-6. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on CBS Sports. Spiro Davis, Adam Archuleta, and Steve Tasker have the play-by-play. Give me your thoughts on the Colts at the Bills. The Bills don't have Tyrod Taylor, so their chances of making them playoffs are pretty much slim now. Big C, your thoughts on that game?
Well, Tyrod still may play, Charlton. It's going to be a game-time decision. If Peterman plays, the game is already over.
Yeah.
The Colts will wipe the mat with him as bad as the Colts are. Peterman is even worse at quarterback, Charlton.
Yeah. That's something else, and I hope Tyrod can play, and obviously the Bills are not out of it. But if they don't have him healthy, it's going to make it difficult. I look at the Cowboys, Big C. They're 6-6. They seem to be back on track. They're at the Giants that are only 2-10, even with the coaching change. And that game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. The great Kevin Burkhardt, Charles Davis, and Pam Oliver have the play-by-play. Even saying that the Giants are 2-10 doesn't make any sense. And the Giants' offense scored fewer than 24 points for the 18th consecutive game. Big C, your thoughts on that game versus the Cowboys?
Well, Charlton, that's what happens when you have a red-hot quarterback that you go out there and you put points on the scoreboard.
Yeah.
And some of those points have been defensive points that they scored this year, Charlton. But this is a game that the Cowboys can't allow the Giants to gain any emotional momentum.
Yeah.
They need to come out and score quickly on this team to get them down. Because if you let the Giants hang around in this game, Charlton, you'll end up losing.
Yeah.
And that's not what the Cowboys need. They need to keep the momentum. They need to protect Zach in the pocket. The Giants have a formidable pass rush.
Yeah.
But the Cowboys have one also. And you know what Eli will be. He lacks mobility in the pocket, Charlton.
That's very true. Speaking of mobility, you have the Lions 6-6 at the Buccaneers, 4-8 on the season. Two teams that really are having to have the Buccaneers aren't going anywhere, but the Lions started strong. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. Kenny Albert, Rondé Barber, Christina Pink have the play-by-play. And Detroit, when you looked at how they got beat down at home by Baltimore, 44-20, and then Stafford gets his hand, messed up. I look at how they're kind of in desperation mode. I know they're on the road, but you think they have enough to get the win down in the state of Florida? Big C, your thoughts?
So Charleston, Stafford is the key to that. Will he be able to play? You know, we saw that in college football when Luke Falk at Washington State hurt his hand against Cal when his team was rolling.
Yeah.
All of a sudden they lost their quarterback and went down. But it also goes to prove, Charleston, in the NFL, you only have about a dozen good starting quarterbacks and no good backup quarterbacks when you look at it.
Yeah.
Because when a starter goes down in the NFL and your backup can't even produce a field goal with the team, that lets you know how lackluster you are as a team and an organization. So, you know, Detroit, you know, desperately needs this victory. Tampa Bay, the most disappointing team in the league this year with all the talent that they have.
Yeah.
And they may go in and squeak one out against the Lions.
Well, a game that is really is a must-see for anyone in the division. One of the most, I won't say mediocre, but just say they have some bad luck, I'll say so far, in the AFC West. I look at the Raiders at 6-6 going into the Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium, also 6-6. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff on CBS Sports. Kevin Harlan and Rich Gannon with the play-by-play. And I look at what has happened with the Raiders. I think they scored 4 touchdowns in the last 3 seconds against to beat Kansas City and Oakland, and they had penalties on 3 of the last 4 plays. But they pulled out a close win with Crabtree, you know, catching a car pass. Now I look at the Raiders. They haven't had a lot of success going into Kansas City. I don't know what the weather's going to be like, but Kansas City's having a hard time winning, even though they scored 31 points in a loss to New York. And then the Raiders seem to get back on track a little bit. I'm still not convinced with them. I'll be convinced with the Raiders if they go into Arrowhead and win, which they're capable of. But at some point, Kansas City has to stop the skid. But I'd love to see a playoff team in Northern California again for the second year in 14 years. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charleston, let me tell you what the players going to be like.
Yeah.
Because the weather is going to be COLD.
Yeah,
okay, that's what it's going to be in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And you saw the last time that it was COLD in Kansas City and the Raiders showed up.
Yeah.
They didn't even score, Charleston.
Yeah.
And so this is one of those games. You got Cooper, who is ailing, and Crabtree, I think, is still out of the lineup for another game, Charleston.
Yeah.
So Carr is going to be devoid of weapons when you go into Kansas City to play this game. Now, Kansas City, when you start talking about all those sixes, I didn't want to say that they've lost 6. You know,
yeah.
6 in a row, Charleston. Is what they've done. So this is a team that's reeling right now. You know, they've done all they can, you know, to try to right the ship, Charleston.
Yep.
They scored over 30 points last week and still lost.
Yeah.
So the problem hasn't been totally the offense. This defense has just not been there. You know, they suspended their best defensive back last week when he got a penalty.
Yeah.
You know, and ran off the field. But they did that, Charleston, in a move to get Darrelle Revis on the field. That was the reason for that suspension. They didn't know how to get him in the lineup.
Yeah.
They signed him as a free agent. So they want to see if he can still play.
Yeah.
And this is the true test for him going against the Raiders.
Yeah.
You know, can he play against one of the best quarterbacks in the up-and-coming quarterbacks in the NFL right now?
Yeah, I think that game with Bowman on defense for the Raiders and you have Tyreek Hill and the Chiefs, this should be a good matchup. Also, Khalil Mack. I look at another game out here for a West Coast team, and the 49ers are traveling to Texas, and they take a 2-10 record versus the Texans 4-8. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on Fox Sports. The great Dick Stockton and Mark Schlereth and Shannon Spake have the play-by-play. I know the 49ers got to win at Chicago with Garoppolo at quarterback, but they kicked a lot of field goals to win that game. Even if a former Bears player kicked the field goal to win for the 49ers. Just give me your thoughts on both of these teams. Obviously, they're looking forward to next year, but your thoughts on if the 49ers can find a way to get to 4 wins on the season with kind of a little bit of new hope with Garoppolo. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I don't know if it's a new hope with Garoppolo, Charles. You got to think about the one touchdown that he's produced for the 49ers.
Yeah.
He did that in 60 seconds of play when a team was playing prevent defense. And so, you know, and he was helped out by a few penalties on that drive.
Yeah.
But when he had an entire game under his belt, Charleston, he couldn't produce any touchdowns for the 49ers offense.
Yeah.
So the jury is still out on Jimmy Garoppolo. He's not. The thing about it, Charleston, in the trade, he wasn't able to bring anybody else from New England's offense with him.
No.
So he's on his own. He's a one-man pony. So you'll find out this week if he has any legitimacy about him. You know, it's good to get down and get 5 field goals. You got to clap your hands for Robbie Gould.
Yep.
But you know, can Jimmy Garoppolo put points on the scoreboard in meaningful time in the game, Charlton, not meaningless time?
Yeah.
And so that's the big question mark with them. You know, Houston is just a team that's, you know, been snake bitten this year.
Yeah.
In every way that you could. The city's problems that it went through. Matter of fact, it even snowed in Houston.
Oh, really?
So, you go from a flood to snow. First time in 8 years that they've had snow in Houston.
Wow.
So is that an omen that, they got snowed on, or are they going to get driven by the 49ers?
The 49ers to go down there and drive them would be a thing to see. We'll see what happens with those two teams. I look at the Packers 6-6 and the Browns 0-12. And when you think about this, in this game, there's 6 combined wins and 18 combined losses. When you think about the Packers and the Browns, you wouldn't expect to hear that. Sunday, 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox Sports. Tom Brenneman, Chris Billman, and Jennifer Hale have the play-by-play. Now, if you think about Green Bay, they're not that far out of playoff contention. I know it didn't seem like that's the case, 2 or 3 weeks ago. But if you look at Detroit kind of in the decline, the Bears aren't going anywhere. I know the Vikings are running away with that division. But if there is any hope for Aaron Rodgers to get back on his feet and maybe get in the last week of the season, they have a chance to go to 7-6 because the Browns are determined to have that parade where they can only get that parade if they don't win it again. Thanks for your thoughts.
Well, the Browns have started shaking up their organization already. Yeah. And they hired a new GM.
Yeah.
They manipulated the Rooney Rule in doing that. They interviewed that former GM from the Buffalo Bills. They gave him about a 5-minute interview, because they had the guy from Kansas City on speed dial.
Yeah.
They were just waiting on him to get out of the room so they could make the phone call.
Yeah.
So, this was already a preconceived planning that they had on who to hire.
Yeah.
You hire a guy who's unemployed, yes, he's going to take the job. He's the best move that you could take.
Yeah.
But, that doesn't change the personnel scenario with the Browns. The Browns are just a snake-bitten organization. They can't figure things out.
Big C, hold on. What are you going to do with somebody who's snake-bitten, whether it's an animal or some friend who's not paying the tithes down to some of those churches when they find out they're snake-bitten for so much cheap on the tithes, Big C? What do you guys do to those good old boys?
Well, Charlton, if you were a true friend, you'd go and open that room up and bite it, But, it seems like they've been bitten so bad that everybody's just walking away from them.
Yeah.
They're in Cleveland, But, you think about Hundley. Hundley has struggled ever since he's taken over for Rodgers.
Yeah.
Once again, last week he passed for less than 100 yards. So think about it, 100 yards. Where Aaron Rodgers many times has done that in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So, he has to play a much better game, because if he doesn't, Cleveland will get their first victory of the season, Charles.
Yeah, boy, I'm telling you, a lot of people are paying attention. Will they go? I mean, the Dolphins are having an opposite reality, party. They want to see if someone can match their record for going 0-14, because that's what they did when they went 14-0 back in the day. I want to see the Bears 3-9 at the Bengals 5-7. That game is Sunday on 1 o'clock on Fox Sports, and we have the great Sam Rosen with Brady Quinn and Jenny Taft with the play-by-play. And you think about the Bears. They have to feel a little bit demoralized losing a game at home to the 49ers that haven't found a way to win more than 2 games in the last 2 years, Big C. Now they're at Cincinnati. They have to be heartbroken by having a 17-3 lead in the loss to Pittsburgh and a game that's a really kind of a black and blue division. But give me your thoughts on the Bears are down because they lost at home to one of their former players that they cut. And then the Bengals, they can't seem to hold on to a win, Big C. Your thoughts on the Bears going into Cincinnati, your thoughts?
Well, Charles, the only thing good about this game is both of these teams start with a C, okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Both of the cities start with a C.
The big CC. Yeah.
You got Chicago and Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Other than that, Charles, this is a game of futility.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at it, you got a starting quarterback for the Bears. The first quarterback taken in the draft, number 2 overall.
Yeah.
Averaging 1.2 yards per pass attempt.
Wow.
Okay? Averaging 3 feet per pass attempt. That's 3 lengths of the football.
Yep.
That he's averaging per pass attempt.
Yeah.
And you're saying that this guy is the future of your franchise.
Yeah.
You can't blame that on the coach. The guy can't throw the ball down the field.
No, you can't. You can't.
You got to blame this on Kiper and Mache.
Yeah.
Stop listening to these 2 damn fools.
Or at least Google what they say. At least if you're going to listen to Google them, at least some.
No, don't even listen, because if you listen, then you're going to start Googling.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's
don't listen to them.
Yeah.
All you got to do is look at the lower 10 teams in the NFL.
Yeah.
And see what Kiper and Mache said about their drafts, that they should be there, and how they graded their drafts.
Yeah.
Go back and look a week after the draft last year.
Yep.
Or even a day after the draft in USA Today.
Yeah.
And see what the grade that these guys got on their teams as far as what Kiper and Mache said.
Yeah.
Go back over the last 5 years and see where they are.
Yeah.
So they said Trubisky was the best quarterback available, that he was ready to play.
Yep.
They said Deshaun Watson was a stretch. that he was going to be a project.
Yeah.
Like he lived in the project or something, okay?
Yeah. That's funny.
Okay?
Oh, they thought he lived in the projects. Maybe I misunderstood what they were saying.
But we see who's the developmental project.
Yeah.
And that's Trubisky.
And go ahead, see.
and Andy Dalton just can't figure it out. I think the red hair is real too bright. Maybe he might want to dye that, go blonde, remind people of Boomer Esiason, so maybe go brown. Just all the way back to Kenny Anderson when he got the Bengals to their first Super Bowl against the 49ers.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, Big C. So, again, when I think about Trubisky, and we wish everybody well, but them same good old boys that said Trubisky, who can't throw for more than 2 yards of pass, it seems, and they're saying he's a can't-miss first pick. But Lamar Jackson, a black guy, who led college football last 2 years in total offensive yards, they're saying, well, he might be a good receiver in the NFL. I think they better do what they call substance testing when they start putting those guys in the NFC. They may start testing more guys. I want to bring up probably the game of the week, at least for NFC stands. If you look at the Vikings 10-2, they've been rolling everybody. And they're at the Packers 8-4. That game is Sunday, 1 o'clock on CBS Sports. The great Jim Nash, Tony Romo, who's going to try to tell us what's going to happen before we see it happen, and then Tracy Wolfson with the play-by-play. And I look at the Vikings. They know they can get the Super Bowl in their own backyard. Carolina needs this win. They have the former MVP in Cam Newton. They have a lot going on in this game, especially at home. But the Vikings, they've gone on the road. They knocked off Atlanta. They beat up on the Rams at home. I don't think they're afraid of anybody, Big C. They look like they're purple people eaters from back in the day, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the best part of this Vikings team has been their defense.
Yeah.
They have held every opponent in bay. They even knocked Aaron Rodgers out for most of the season.
Yeah.
With that cracked collarbone, Charlton.
Yeah.
And this is a game that, when you think about what Carolina has done in the last 3 weeks, Charlton, they've looked very shabbily as a team. They've lost 2 of their last 3 games.
Yeah.
They lost, to the Saints. They barely squeaked by the Jets when they played them, and that's because of 2 defensive turnovers that turned into touchdowns, Charlton. But they're playing a great defensive opponent in the Vikings. And Cam Newton will be under constant pressure all game long.
Yeah.
He hasn't learned how to use McCaffrey yet.
No.
Out of the backfield. Also, Olsen is banged up a little bit again. His foot is ailing me, so he's not 100%.
Yeah.
And Devin Bunches is just not developed into a number 1 receiver. So this is a team, they lost to the Saints.
Yeah.
And so they're reeling right now. They desperately need a win. Even though that division they're in is tight, and they also have to play New Orleans and Atlanta again, Charlton.
Yep.
But they desperately need a win to stay in the thick of things. But this is the Viking team with a quarterback in Case Keenum who's completing over 72% of his passes, Charlton.
Yeah, they look very good,
so
Big C. Yeah.
He's not making mistakes. So he's not putting his defense in peril when he's out there playing. He's doing enough to win every game, Charlton.
Yep.
I like the Vikings in this one.
No, they look very good. The Redskins 5-7 at the Chargers 6-6. That game Sunday at 4:05 kickoff on CBS Sports. Iron Eagle, the great Dan Fouts, and Evan Washburn with the play-by-play. You think about Washington and how strong they looked earlier in the season. Now they're struggling. And you look at the Chargers. They've won 3 in a row in 6 of their last 8 games, and their defense is legit. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the defense is legit, Charlton. They have 2 of the best outside rushers in pro football with Ingram and Bosa.
Yeah.
They're constantly putting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks. But they've gotten tremendous play out of their secondary, Charlton. They've been ball hawks in this winning streak. But, the true story is Phillip Rivers, okay?
Yeah.
When you look at Phillip, he's passed for 1,200 yards, Charlton, in their last 3 victories.
Yeah.
And so he's a guy that's hotter than fish grease right now. And you look at his young running back, Gordon, who's been a stabilizing force. He's been the best running back that they've had since LaDainian Tomlinson. Because Matthews didn't work out, but, now that they got the young receivers, Allen is back and healthy again.
Yeah.
Gates is on his last swan song at tight end, and so he wants to get everything he can out of every play. And this offensive line has just been protecting Phillip Rivers because he can't even get out of a phone booth.
Yeah, that's true. See, I look at the Jets at 5-7 at the Broncos at 3-9 up in the Mile High State in Colorado. That game Sunday 4:05 kickoff on CBS Sports. the great Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Jamie Erdahl have the play-by-play. The Jets had lost 5 of 6 before last week's 38-31 win over the Chiefs. And it seems like the Broncos are just giving up. I mean, I've never thought I'd say this, but I look at how they played in the Super Bowl when they came out here to San Francisco a couple of years ago. Even though they beat up on Carolina and caused some turnovers to win the game, this is a different team. It's a different breed of cat. It seems like there's a lot of dysfunction in Denver, and this is a defense that's always been the marquee stance for the Broncos. It looks like they might get beat at home by the Jets. Big C, your thoughts?
We're talking the Jets surely should be favored in this game because they have the better of the quarterbacks going into
Yep,
this
they sure
game
do.
with talent. But, you know, when you talk about Denver's defense, even a greatness will become depressed after a while. When you know that you realistically don't have a chance to win the game from a defensive perspective in Denver, you walk out there and you can play lights-out football on defense for 4 quarters and still lose. They've done that, Charlton, most of the year. This defense really hasn't broken down this year. It's just that their offense has kept them on the field so often and given the opposing team the ball in great field position that the defense can't withstand that every series, Charlton. So they're not broken down physically.
No.
They're broken down mentally on Denver's defense because you're sitting there and the guys on the other side of the locker room, you have no faith in them.
Nope.
Your teammates and all that. But you get to a point as teammates where you like, damn, you can't even cut the guy because we have nobody to replace him.
That's true, Big C. So hopefully they'll find a way to put it together in Denver. The Titans 8-4 at the Cardinals 5-7. Sunday 4:05 kickoff on CBS Sports. Andrew Catalon, James Lofton, and Jay Feely with the play-by-play. And I look at the Titans. The Titans 8-4, one of the best records in the NFL, and they're legit contenders for the AFC South. We know the Cardinals are struggling, but I just want to get your thoughts on the Titans. They're a team that maybe even have home field advantage if they keep rolling the way they are. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the Titans should. You know, Mariota, as long as he stays healthy. The biggest disappointment, though, has been at running back, Charlton, with Murray. You know, he hasn't averaged more than 2.5 yards a carry this year. So people wonder, is he slowing down? And at this pace, he won't be back with the team next year. But Delaney Walker has been a pleasant surprise for them, solidifying their receiving core. He's like Olsen in Carolina at the tight end position. But Mariota is moving along nicely. You know, you look at how he has matured and grown in the quarterback position, and you look at the same kid that was drafted in the same draft as him, Winston in Tampa, and he hasn't made the same strides that Mariota has, Charlton. So I like Tennessee making the playoffs, Charlton, getting into that double-digit win category this season. They look very strong, Big C. I want to bring you out to the West Coast. The Eagles 10-2 at the Rams 9-3. That game is Sunday at 4:25 kickoff on Fox Sports. And Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and Aaron Andrews have the play-by-play. I know there's been a lot of fires in L.A., and our thoughts and prayers go out to all the people who've lost property in Southern California. And we just hope that everything works better down there with the firefighters trying to put out the fires. But we do have Philadelphia. They flew up to the northwest and had their wings clipped by the Seattle Seahawks in that 12-man crowd up north. And then Wentz had a difficult game playing in front of the 12th man. Now they go to the Coliseum, which is a much larger venue, 90,000. They may have about 80,000 at the game, Big C. But I'm telling you, Goff and Wentz, they were the two marquee quarterbacks coming out of the draft a year ago. And now they get a chance to see if their teams can get on top heading to the playoffs. Big C, your thoughts? Well, Charles, just 3 weeks ago, everybody had penciled Philadelphia into the Super Bowl, okay?
Too early.
All of a sudden they traveled to the West Coast, and they found out that some teams out here really want to play football on the West Coast. The Seattle Seahawks have been in situations before where they came in as an underdog, and this team was supposed to drive them off the field. And they weren't going to stand for that. Russell Wilson proved why he should be one of the top 2 guys when it comes down to MVP conversation in his game last week against the Eagles, as well as he's done all year long. You know, but you're going into California to play against the Rams with the hottest quarterback in the NFC, Charlton, Jared Goff. He's leading the NFC in passing yards. He has Todd Gurley, a tremendous running back that when healthy is as good as any back in the game.
Very much.
Offensive line, it's on their stride. They improved their offensive line. The receiving core is solid with the Rams, but their biggest improvement this year was on the offensive line. Their defense is one of the tops in the defense. The defensive line is one of the tops in the NFL. Now the Eagles, having stayed on the West Coast, I don't know if they're going to be totally acclimated, Charlton, because you kind of miss your familiarity.
Yeah.
I never really enjoyed staying across the country, Charlton, in a hotel for an entire week getting ready for a game.
Yeah.
Because the things that you did on a daily basis, you just don't have anymore. So that breaks your mental stride.
Yeah.
And so it's not worth it for a team to stay out there. And so if the Eagles end up losing this game, Charlton, and I do like the Rams in this game,
yep.
What will be the thought process of the Eagles at that point?
Yeah.
Will they continue to tumble downhill if they lose 2 in a row?
Well, sometimes you got to get punched in the mouth before you realize how good you are, Big C. Another huge game. You have the Seattle Seahawks 8-4 traveling across the country to Florida to face the Jacksonville at 8-4. 2 great defenses on the field. That game is 4:25 kickoff on Sunday on Fox Sports. Chris Myers, Daryl Johnson, and Laura Oakman have the play-by-play. And Jacksonville's in a 2-team race for Tennessee for the AFC South. And you know Seattle's always a contention for the division lead in the NFC West. I look at Seattle. Pete Carroll's 19-5 in December games. And last I checked, we are in December, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, as much as you said 8-4 and 6-6, I might have to get up and call this show a quick and go for a lottery ticket or something.
Yeah.
I think you're trying to give me some magical numbers or something. So
yeah.
I might be wasting my time with you here today. We might not be on air somebody.
I tell you.
You know, when we look at these opponents, Charlton,
yeah.
You know, everybody has these equal records.
Yep.
And so it's just like in college football when we talked about getting to the last 2 weeks of the season, everybody talked about moving day.
Yep.
That's where we're getting right now with these scenarios in the NFL. People are really pushing for these final playoff positions, for those wild card slots.
Yeah.
The divisions, the teams that are in first place in divisions basically have them sold up.
Yeah.
So right now we're fighting for these wild card positions, Charlton, and that's what we see in this game.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of those games that about being healthy. The healthier team will walk out of this game with a victory.
Well, it should be a dynamite game to watch. Big C, 2 more games. We have the Ravens 7-5 at the Steelers 10-2. The best mark in the AFC Sunday, an 8:30 kickoff on NBC Sports. The great Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Michelle Tapoya with the play-by-play. I look at the Ravens. They suffered a big loss with veteran cornerback Jimmy Smith toward his Achilles tendon. And the Steelers, we know they're still thinking about their teammate who's still dealing with some health issues from the injury he had against the game at Cincinnati. But they got to stay focused, and that's what Tomlin will have them doing, is focused, especially at home. I know it's going to be a physical game, but it seems to me that the Steelers have a lot more on offense than the Ravens. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Ryan Shazier Thompson stays in everyone's thoughts and prayers, you know, with that horrendous hit and injury that he suffered in that game last week against Cincinnati. Once again, another Thursday night game. Monday night games and these things, you know, midweek are just not good for the players and trying to get rest. But when we look at this game coming up this week, Charlton, these are 2 teams that hate each other. We thought that Cincinnati and Pittsburgh hated each other.
Yeah.
Baltimore
these
and
2.
Pittsburgh hated each other.
Yeah.
There's no love lost in this contest. We talk about physical combatants.
Yeah.
Is what we have is physical combatants in this game. 2 tremendous defensive teams.
Yep.
You know, the biggest question mark in this game is Joe Flacco, Charlton.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Flacco probably had his best game of the season last week. You know, but can he keep that consistency going?
Yeah.
You know, there's been games where Joe Flacco looked like Tom Savage.
You
know, looked like, Huntley in Green Bay.
Yeah.
You know, he was a guy that couldn't get you 150 yards passing.
Yeah.
But he's making $24 million on the season.
I'll take the money.
You know, well, he did.
Yeah.
He's taking the money. So
he's not giving it back.
You don't have to speak for him. He already took it.
Okay.
But, you know, the Steelers right now, you know, with Mike Tomlin as the coach, Charlton, he knows how to prepare his team as the season goes on.
Yeah.
And you think about it under Mike Tomlin's tenure with the Steelers, they've gotten better and better later in the season.
Yeah.
You know, they start off slow because he doesn't believe in playing the veterans in preseason.
Yep.
Or even working them in training camp because he knows what he has.
He wants them fresh.
He knows the mindset and the professionalism that he's instilled in his players, Charlton.
Yeah.
And it's showed here in the second half of the season how the Steelers have gotten healthy, caught their stride.
Yep.
And they're going to slam out and win this division, Charlton.
Yeah, they're a very good team. Big C, final game, the Patriots Monday night. They're 10-2 at the Dolphins 5-7. That's an 8:30 ESPN start. Sean McDonough, John Gruden and Lisa Salters with the play-by-play. I look at the Patriots. They've won 14 consecutive games. You look at the Dolphins. They aren't going anywhere. But the Patriots, they're kind of a model of consistency for the NFL. Your thoughts on the Patriots going to 11-2 on Monday night versus the Dolphins, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, you might as well say that the Dolphins are a model of consistency.
Yeah, that's true.
They're consistently lackadaisical out there in the field.
Yeah.
They're consistently inconsistent.
Yeah.
That's the Dolphins organization. You thought that Adam Gates would turn it around, after last season.
Yep.
But, when he lost Tannehill, it goes to prove once again there's no backup quarterbacks in the NFL.
Yeah.
Because you go and get a guy who was taking a nap and offer him a contract.
Yeah.
He still hasn't woken up. He still thinks he's dreaming.
Yeah.
So,
That's funny.
I like the Patriots in this game, Charlton. Tom Brady, we saw the fire and brimstone that he had last week when he got into it with his coach.
Yeah.
McDaniels on the sideline. That's a competitor.
Yeah.
I don't think Jay Cutler's ever raised his mouth open his mouth other than to yawn.
And to eat.
I think he was yawning when he had his mouth open that wide.
Yeah.
and so, but the team feeds off Brady.
Yeah.
When they see the passion in Brady, how intense he is about wanting to win, about trying to not make mistakes, Charlton, to understand that he did make a mistake and he didn't want to be riveted about it, and he would get back at you on it. That picks up the team, Charlton. That's what leaders do. You have to be vocal.
Yeah.
You have to get in the butts of some people periodically, and Tom Brady did that.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the team, I don't want him to chew me out.
Yeah.
Let's go play.
Yeah, and he's earned it, Big C. He's been there. He's proven it. He keeps playing, and he prepares himself well. So we know that a lot of great things are happening in the world of sports, especially with this chase for the playoffs. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Bondini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, what I'm looking forward to is we've talked about it for the past couple of days, the Army-Navy game, Charlton. The winner of this game will win the Commanders-in-Chief Trophy as the top athletic program in the academies, Charlton.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to this. This is going to be the final game for so many of these young men, Charlton, and they play with such class and integrity every year that they meet.
And we always want to salute our hats to the Army, Navy, and all the people who serve this great country in the land of the free, in the home of the brave. And you can always listen to us every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide. Follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network. We're on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. We always want to tell you, there's never ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know anyone in trouble, please call 911, because no woman should have to deal with that garbage on her own. And as we always tell you on every Big C Sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.